The World Cup taking place in Doha made it seem like the perfect excuse for me to slide out to Qatar to get on Qatar Airways flight number 1, which operates from Doha, Hamad International Airport, to London's Heathrow International Airport. We all know the Q suites very well, so we're going to be trying this out in Qatar's economy class and comparing it to the other international economy classes of the world just to see how it ranks up. While we drive into the airport here, enjoy some of the sights and scenes that Hamad was decorated with in preparation for this year's World Cup. For those of you new to this series, the Ones is a series that I started earlier in 2022, where my goal is to visit the entirety of the world's flight number 1s, which are made for a number of reasons, either the airline's busiest route, some sort of historical significance to that airline, or what have you. Today, the Qatar Airways flight number 1 is just going to be one of their more popular routes, which operates from Qatar to London. There's actually multiple flights a day between these airports, especially if you include the greater area of London, on a variety of aircraft. Today's is going to be on the 777-300 variant, and we're going to be testing out the economy class. Now, if you haven't seen my Fly Dubai video, that was also about this same time, and you'll know that during the World Cup, they actually had a lot of the Middle Eastern airlines using the Doha International Airport, which had reopened specifically to take care of the extra traffic load during the World Cup. And so this is actually my first time at Hamad International Airport, and it was a treat as it's up there, in my opinion, with some of the world's top airports. Now, the Hamad International Airport is largely a transfer hub. A lot of people don't start or end their journeys here, so the check-in area is actually fairly condensed and is obviously mostly Qatar Airways. You can see here the first thing that you're going to see is the specific entrance for first and business class passengers. They checked your ticket, so I wasn't actually able to go in and see exactly what that looked like, so we had to look at it from afar as we headed off to the door number 2, which was reserved for Qatar economy class, as was door number 3, which takes up the larger portion of the check-in area of this terminal. Down below, you can see the arrival hall where a lot of passengers that were receiving bags from baggage claim were hanging out, and above that you can see the exclusive area for first class and business class check-in, something that I will be testing out early next year and I'm really excited for. For the time being though, we're going to get our boarding passes checked and head off to the economy class check-in. They actually were checking everyone's boarding pass just to get to the counters, I'm assuming because the World Cup was here to avoid overcrowding. Although even with that being said, the airport actually seemed fairly empty in the check-in area, which was kind of peculiar considering how large of an event was occurring at this time. Now, as far as the eye could see, everything here was Qatar Airways. There are obviously other airlines that operate out of here, but pretty much everything I could see was Qatar. There was some other One World counters sprinkled within the Qatar Airways counters, but at this time I didn't see anything else besides Qatar Airways and a couple of their One World partners set up for check-in. Now, I did like the ornateness of the check-in desks, and I liked the openness of the check-in area as a whole. I also appreciated that even the economy class boarding pass had some color and artwork on it, which is one of those small things that I've come to appreciate. That being said, we're going to head through passport control and security and off into the international terminal. Once through security, it looked like the transiting customers passing through immigration popped out here as well, and then you end up in the main rotunda of Hamad International Airport. One of the first things you're going to notice is the main art installation called Lamp Bear, which was bought by a Qatari family not too long ago and brought directly to this airport, along with some World Cup decorations as well. Up above are the lounges, and they're actually paid access. I wasn't able to buy it ahead of time, so I decided to try and buy it on arrival. Unfortunately, that day the lounges were completely sold out with no space available, so stay posted for the Q Suites video when we can get a better look at those lounges. For now though, we're just going to go explore the airport. Where we start off here is the Central Duty Free South Plaza, and coming off of that, originally there was just an A and B concourse going to the east and west, and C concourse extruding into the north. And then as the airport was growing, they added a D and E concourse along with another duty-free wing. We're gonna head down the C concourse on our way out to that other duty-free wing, and you'll notice other art installations and places for people to hang out. However, the thing that caught my eye the most was just how empty this airport was. Considering Doha is trying to become the second Dubai of the Middle East, the airport is growing, the city is growing, this airport just felt kind of like a ghost town, and it was kind of a strange feeling. If you've been to Hamad International Airport, I'm curious what your thoughts were and if it was busy when you were here. Now at the end of the C Plaza is the North Duty Free Plaza, which has a ton more shops. It's a big open area and another place for you to hang out, and I found it to be a lot less crowded. Not that the other Duty Free Plaza was too crowded all in all. But down here you'll find a lot more shops and some more art, but the most crowning achievement is actually just past that, where you can see where the C concourse originally ended and where they added on top of that to build the D and E as the airport has grown, and there's some more lounges, but most importantly is the gardens. And after Singapore's Changi Airport had the Airport of the Year award for 7 years straight, Hamad International Airport finally took that award away from them from 2021, and you're looking here at the main reason for that. This large garden area is fully enclosed, so it's not too hot, especially in the Middle Eastern sun, but it is a fantastic and relaxing place to relax and stroll between flights. There's plenty of walkways around the trees and gardens, restaurants, shops, and all kinds of stuff, to the point where it doesn't even feel like you're in an airport. It feels like you're in some sort of high-end luxury shopping mall, which is definitely the feel that Doha was going for with this. But let me know your thoughts on this. If you've seen my Singapore business class video, then you've seen Singapore's Jewel. And I'm curious what your take on whether this is better or that is better, or if they're just different in their own rights. And if the beautiful gardens didn't sell you, how about this? This is a restaurant that is entirely dedicated to Oreos, and every creation they have involves Oreos in some way, shape, or form. Here on these signs here, you can see that this airport is growing and becoming somewhat of a massive airport, with 2 duty-free shops, the lounges, the gardens, the orchards, and even showers for first-class passengers, off in a separate wing where they have access to their own spa area. Now, if you're like me, you start thinking about how big this airport is and how much walking that might take. Not that I'm lazy, but it's a lot of walking when it comes down to it. What you're looking at here, however, is a tram system to take you between different gates and different areas of the airport. So if walking's not your thing, you can hop on this train here and take it around the airport to wherever you might need to go. I, for one, enjoyed the walking, considering I was about to be on a flight for quite a long time, and there's nothing I enjoy more than getting some steps in before I sit for hours on end. Now, I'm excited to try out the 777 for Qatar, but most of the flights between Doha and London are actually on the A380, and so I was slightly bummed to not be able to try that out today. I didn't even get to try out the special One World Qatar livery flight. Instead, we were just on Qatar's traditional 777-300. Looking at this departure board, the first thing I thought of is there's a lot of airlines here that I didn't see check-in counters for. Maybe I just wasn't looking in the right place, but I'm really curious if you guys know. Let me know below if maybe they just have a small spot off to the corner, or if there truly is a different space that I just didn't see for check-in. With that though, boarding was about to start, so we were off to the B gates to get on board our flight to Heathrow. The boarding gates are also similar to Singapore's Changi Airport in the sense that you have to go through a passport control to get to the enclosed gate area, and then you wait for your flight inside that special area. Upstairs is where the specific passengers boarding upper decks can go in order to allow them an easier access down the jet bridge so they don't have to go up the stairs in the airplane. So if you are on the upper deck of the A380, which is frequented here, you're able to get easier access to that airplane. At the very end here at gate B5, you can see the information for my flight to London Heathrow aboard Qatar Airways flight number 1. So we're gonna head through this here passport control and on to the enclosed gate area for my flight. And here you see the 777-300 that's about to be taking us from Hamad International Airport in Doha off to Heathrow International Airport in London. And in the background you can see all kinds of Qatar Airways paint schemes, including the FIFA World Cup branded airplanes. And out in the distance past that you can see the sea concourse extending out into the distance, which is where we just were, that leads all the way out to the gardens. One of the things that I was enjoying looking at, however, was this big spiral slide coming off, where the gate check bags go down to the rampers, and something about going down that slide or picturing a ramper going down that slide to get down to the airplane made me happy. The seating here is actually a little bit different. If you look closely, you'll notice that all the seats are organized by boarding group, and I'll show you a little bit closer with my boarding group shortly. But basically that way, when they call for a boarding group, an entire seating section can stand up, get ready for boarding, and the rest of the groups can stay seated. It did help people to remain a little bit more organized, and in all honesty, I was a pretty big fan of this, but let me know your thoughts on this seating style within the enclosed gating area. But with that, it looks like they're ready for boarding for Zone 1, so let's go ahead and get on board our 777 to London. Now, Qatar Airways being one of the Middle Eastern great airlines, if not one of the world's greatest airlines, I was very excited to step on board one of their airplanes for the very first time. The Q Suites absolutely blew me away, and I am absolutely looking forward to my flight in the Q Suites coming up soon next year. That being said, I was onto the economy class, and while the seats weren't too impressive from the look of it, I was excited to sit down and see what the airline had to offer. I figure if it's been ranked in the world's top airlines consistently, it's got to have something going for it, even in economy class, to make that ranking, and I was excited to try that out. The economy class is laid out in a 3-4-3 configuration, and I'm going to be back here in seat 44A, which is a window seat on the left side of the airplane. And as people file in, we're going to take a second to look around what Qatar's economy seat has to offer to those passengers sitting here in the back of the cabin. Now, I will say that the seats were unusually tall, which actually gave even the economy seats a little more privacy, considering that nobody could see over your seat and you couldn't see over the seat in front of you. But the seats were a little thin. You can see with my seat peeling here, the cushion wasn't exactly that thin, but it was at least good enough that I could get comfortable and get some sleep. Now, the seat itself was actually pretty good. It felt a little cramped. Part of that was probably just because there was a slightly larger passenger to my right, which made it feel a little bit tighter. Legroom was actually fantastic as far as legroom with the knees went. For my feet, it was cramped with my backpack there, but having the window seat gave me a little bit of extra space off to my left to spread my legs out, and then once I moved the pillow and blanket, I had some extra space. The seat back pocket has the smaller pockets for personal items, which I always find to be appreciated, along with the main pocket to go with literature or larger items that you might have brought on board with you. Here you're looking at the Qatar Airways free headsets that they give out to the economy class passengers. And the quality audio-wise was fine, but it was not the most comfortable headset. You can see just kind of the rubber earmuffs, and in all honesty, they got a little painful on my ears, especially after waking up from a nap. The tray table is of a style that I'm seeing pop up more and more, which can fold down in a half style if you don't need the entire thing, or you can fold it out all the way if you are ready for your entire meal. Above the tray table is a seatback TV remote, and no matter how many times I tried pushing on the button, I could not get it out. I thought maybe this was by design for some reason, but the passenger next to me, when she got up to go to the restroom, I was able to get her remote out just fine, so for some reason mine was stuck. That being said, I was able to use the touchscreen on the seatback TV just fine. Now, as far as the seatback TVs go, I want to take a second to talk about the in-flight entertainment options here, and if that's not your speed, go ahead and use the timestamps or chapters below to skip ahead to the next section. For those of you guys sticking around to check this part out though, I will say that the Qatar Airways in-flight entertainment system had some of the best options that I've ever found on one of these long-haul international flights. It wasn't just TV shows and movies, of which I had endless options, enough to get me to London and then some. But there was also plenty of other items on these seatback TVs to keep me entertained throughout the flight if I wasn't exactly feeling a movie or a TV show at that time. Now, this flight isn't necessarily too long, but it was nice to have a pillow and a blanket even in economy class, and I did use the pillow at least to help me get a little bit of sleep on my way to London. When I do fly this flight from San Francisco to Doha, I will be definitely more excited to use the pillow and blanket in the Q suite and see how much sleep I can get. The other thing I noticed, just as I was waiting to push back, a special guest took off from this airplane. The day before this flight, actually, Portugal had just been eliminated from the World Cup, and I was able to watch their A340 depart Doha, heading back to Lisbon with a plane full of disappointed Portuguese soccer players. Prior to Pushback, I did enjoy the 777 safety video for Qatar that was really oriented as a worldwide culture mix in preparation for the World Cup. As expected, Qatar really went all in preparation for the World Cup being hosted here, as it was such a great opportunity for them to grow their presence as a country in the world. And as we climbed out over Bahrain and the Arabian desert, I sat back and listened to what had to have been 10 minutes of an ad just for the World Cup, which was somewhat strange considering that we were leaving the location of the World Cup, but to each his own. I guess it provides you with marketing. Then came the in-flight Wi-Fi. Now, it was available for purchase, and I did actually purchase a session, and it actually was probably the fastest Wi-Fi that I've had on board an airplane. That being said, it was free if you were of their status members, but for the rest of the people, it was only $10 for the full flight, which was definitely a good deal. The other thing available is the onboard menu through this service, and you can go ahead and pause and look through this if you'd like. Then they came around with their first snack service, some pretzels, and a beer which was free for economy travelers, which was a nice luxury that I don't necessarily expect on these flights. And as we made our way over Iraq and Turkey, the crew announced that meal service would be starting soon for economy class passengers. Now, I've heard great things about Qatar's meals, and I was very excited to see exactly how the economy class meals measured up. I ordered the beef cutlet option, and what you're going to see right here is what that looks like. The beef was actually tasty and a little bit overdone, but that's to be expected on airplanes. The potatoes were very good as well. The vegetables were a little overcooked for my taste. However, the hummus made up for that because the hummus and chickpea salad was absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, the bread was a little bit dry and the cheesecake wasn't exactly the taste I was looking for. But all in all, for an economy class meal, far superior to some of the stuff that you're going to find on other long-haul international flights. And once the meal was over a little bit later, they passed out these chocolate wafers to every passenger in economy as our one last little snack. After the meal was wrapped up, I took a nap, and when I woke up, the sun was starting to set, and we were just about to begin our descent into the United Kingdom. Well, it wouldn't be a proper flight without a good trip to the restroom to review that. And while the restroom on this plane was narrow, what I will say is that this bathroom was long. I mean, it was probably twice as long as the restrooms that I've seen on other airplanes of this size, which is just strange because of how narrow it was. Shortly after, though, they announced that we'd be beginning our descent into London. The mood lighting slightly shifted, and the flight attendants began to get the cabin ready for arrival into London Heathrow. Now as we taxi in and the windows begin to fog up more and more as we get closer to the gate, I want to take a second to reflect on this flight and exactly what the Qatar Airways economy class service has to offer. We've all seen plenty of videos on the Q suites, and so I was really excited to try out the economy class service because there wasn't a whole lot of stuff out there, at least to my liking. And so I figured I'd give us a taste of what that looks like, especially departing out of Hamad International Airport, being their main hub. Now, while I haven't flown internationally long haul on too many airplanes in economy, I've done a lot of the US airlines and a few of the European airlines, and Qatar Airways is definitely far superior to the economy classes I've experienced on those airlines. Now, of course, there's the whole concept that these airlines have to be better, considering they have to entice people to want to go through the transit of Dubai, Doha, Abu Dhabi that these types of airlines operate through. That being said, it definitely comes through in their product. That being said, the seat's up there with one of the most comfortable economy class long-haul seats I've sat in, second to probably only the Swiss 777 economy class seat that I sat in. That being said, the highlight of this journey definitely comes down to Hamad International Airport. Skytrax ranked it the world's best airport in 2021, ending Singapore's Changi Airport's reign for 7 years in a row, and it's for good reason. The Hamad International Airport is a fantastic airport from what I saw, and I didn't even get to check out any of the lounges or the long-term sleeping options. Just the gardens and the sights were fantastic, so I'm excited to go back there and spend some more time there. But I do like what Doha's got going there with that airport. Well, in a nutshell, that's Qatar Airways economy class product. I will be trying out their Q Suite business class product on a flight soon from San Francisco to Dubai, transiting in Doha, so stay posted for that video. I'm super excited for that coming up soon in the coming months. But I am curious, so far at least, on your thoughts on Qatar Airways economy class. If you've flown on an airline that you think has a better economy class, definitely let me know, mostly because I'd be very interested to try it out because I thoroughly enjoyed this flight and the long haul flight went by super easily even in economy class. But for now, welcome to London Heathrow's Terminal 4. Thank you guys so much for watching and stay posted for more videos coming up soon.